This is going to be so fun. I know some of you have seen Amanda in action before, but our guest today is, we'll do this. We start every meeting like this. Lots of energy.
You guys start your meetings like that? Because it's the best way to start a meeting.
We have Amanda Holmes from Chet Holmes International, and Chet Holmes has helped over 250,000 businesses help double their sales. That's their claim to fame. And so Amanda's father, Chet, started the company a number of years ago, gained his fame by helping double multiple divisions of Charlie Munger, who's the partner of Warren Buffett, a guy you might know about. And so he also wrote the book, The Ultimate Sales Machine, which is one of the top 10 most recommended sales books of all time. There it is. I was going to get my copy, which I have my books right behind me. I think my wife stole my copy of my book. And so
she's here. You could ask.
I know. Well, typical. She looks a little blurry.
Oh, look at more people.
Oh, Carol Ann, Yannicka.
Yes.
I love that. I can't believe Michael didn't bring his copy in hand.
I just made it to the meeting, Jerry. It was tight, but I'm glad
it was tight.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're here for sure. But Amanda's father wrote the book, The Ultimate Sales Machine, which is an amazing book, one that I have recommended many times myself. In fact, gave a presentation to Rachel's sales group before I even knew Amanda Holmes. And so that was kind of a fun, just fortuitous introduction. But Amanda inherited her father's company at 24. I like to call her the reluctant CEO. She tried to hand the CEO title off to a number of people before she finally said, I can do this better than anyone else. And she certainly has over the last number of years. And so I am so happy to have you here. Amanda, 177 miles an hour, Holmes.
Well, thank you. I'm so happy to be here. We have so many wonderful people here too. It's real people. It's not just talking to the ether. We're talking with real people.
That's right. And if you guys have been here before, you know how it works. If you have something to say, just let us know and we'll bring you on. You can ask a question. We try to make this as interactive as possible because at the end of the day, this is just trying to help people succeed faster. As I say, no one shows up to work wanting to suck, but there's so many people that do. And so let's help you get better faster. So Amanda, here's the thing that I think is really interesting. I look at the year 2022, the two biggest challenges that I see in business is leadership agility, because of the changing marketplace, having to go remote, digital technology coming into every aspect of our lives. And then the second piece of it is marketing. There is so much noise in the marketplace that I believe that the people who know how to market best are going to win. And so, we've spoken about this before, even though your dad's book is The Ultimate Sales Machine, it's really a primer on part leadership and also marketing. And, as our friend Dave Gerhardt likes to say, the purpose of marketing is to make sales easier. So walk me through, because I know you just rewrote Chet's book, right? Which will, I know, is right. And so that's going to get released later on this year. But tell me about the change in the marketplace from the time your dad wrote that book to today, and how that's been reflected in the book.
Absolutely. So when my father wrote that book 15 years ago, the average business would go out to 7 different marketing mediums on average, best in class. Today, we're going to 15 different marketing mediums on average, 19 on the high side if you're B2C. And we're expected to be able to master double the amount of work for a fraction of the results because we're trying to navigate through all of this clutter. My father called it the Clutter Factor 15 years ago, and he said, it's out of control. If only you could see what we're doing now, right? I read yesterday, 3.8 billion users online posting content on all the different social media channels. 3.8 billion with a B. And that wasn't there just 10 years ago, right? Or maybe Facebook had just started 10 years ago. So even breaking down, my father said that there are 12 core competencies to double sales, right? And it's not about doing 4,000 different things. It's about doing 12 things 4,000 times. I'm even challenging that and saying, okay, well, he wrote that book at a time when the internet wasn't really readily available. Today, it's so readily available. You have so much information. We have to get even smaller than 12. So I've really been focusing on 3.
Which 3 are the most important?
Time management secrets of billionaires. Because majority of people, right, we all have the same 24 hours in a day. And yet how come billionaires can make billions of dollars? And yet majority of people don't make that. It's because we haven't become masters of our own time. So we have 6 steps to increase your productivity by 500%. And they're freaking fantastic, but it takes pig-headed discipline and determination to be able to execute on them, which I could give you one right now. Would you like to know that?
Let's do it.
So fascinating market data that was done by the University of Irvine said that every time you get pulled away from what you're doing, let's say you get a text message, let's say you get a Slack message, let's say you get a pop-up on your phone, the amount of time it takes you 23 minutes on average to get your focus back to what you were doing. And in that time, the equivalent of your mind is working as if you had slept for only 4 hours. That's for somebody that normally would sleep more than 4 hours. So we're using a smaller percentage of our brain to operate on a day-to-day because we're in such fight or flight for all of the information that's coming at us at all times. So number 1 would be, what can you do to stop my father called it got-a-minute meetings. And he said, got-a-minute meetings just completely take over your world. Well, now it's the phone that we're attached to. The average person spends on average, anyone above 18 years old spends 10 hours a day on media. I just got off the phone with one of my clients that she got that report on her phone that said, this week, your average amount of time you spent on your phone was 19 hours a day. I know. Zach was like, what? I'm like, I know. She's like, I'm sure it's the same for you. And I'm like, no, that's crazy, right? But that's the world that we're living in today. So how can we remove as much distraction as possible? How can we set up times in our day where we are being productive and then proactively schedule reactive time? So in this period of time is when I'm going to go on social, when I'm going to reply to text messages, when I'm going to, all the pings and pangs happen in your proactively reactive time, as opposed to whenever they're coming in.
And I think it's so important. My earliest mentor told me, you either control your day or your day controls you. And so if you don't have calendar control, there is zero way that you can absolutely make the impact that you want on life, because it's all about conscious intention. Am I aligning the right actions with the right objectives? And so if it's so easy to get sucked in, and now with these little short videos that they have with TikTok, and they've put them on Reels, and Facebook now has them, it's insane. You can just scroll by a gazillion of them. And next thing you know, it's like an hour has gone by and you think, shit, I should have been doing something else productive.
Crazy. You make such a great point. Carol Ann too. This is why I don't have an Apple Watch. Absolutely. And Rachel, touch it once. Yes. But it also is interesting about how we're consuming information as well, right? So if we know that we're in a micro environment, so the average attention span is half what it was 10 years ago. We're at 3 seconds, the equivalent of a goldfish at this point. I'm sure all of you are listening and Rachel's laughing. Yes. Yeah, I'm sure you're thinking of some of your staff, like, what is this? 30 seconds. But so then when we think of how we're marketing to our prospects, what are we giving them that will catch them in 3 seconds? How are we delivering that? I have a client that they teach truck drivers how to be safe on the road. And they call it micro learning, where if you can give short spurts of information more frequently, you retain the information better and for a longer span of time, because that's the way in which we're learning today. So my father used to say, spend 1 hour a week on this. Now it's more like spend 5 minutes twice a week on this, or 5 minutes once a week. So that micro learning is a really fascinating concept about retention of knowledge. So how are you giving that to your prospects? How are you training internally your team to operate from this micro, I don't have a lot of focus to be able to do this. I love, he's not here right now. I won't go into it. Oh, so many wonderful faces. How do we get them to talk more? We need to talk with these wonderful people.
Amanda, you or Carol Ann would be proud too. My group was just finishing up a call, so I had both calls going on, which is why I stepped away. So I just told them, you guys can join a little late, no worries. So for joining.
Oh, that's wonderful.
My question almost falls into, how do you be the opposite too and not be the person that says, hey, do you have a minute? Because I'm guilty of doing that to my leaders often. Because it's almost that sense of urgency in sales, right? It's, I got to get this done now. I want to sell now. So what's your advice on the opposite? So
do you have your standing meetings? Do you have a certain hour, or how frequently do they happen?
I took advice from last call that we were on of making that white space. So I am, as opposed to doing back-to-back meetings, I am trying to break them out, usually about 30 minutes to an hour in between.
Nice. And then with your superiors, so like, for instance, we might have for sales, 1 hour a week might be not frequently enough. So if you know that you need to huddle and you're having a huddle twice a week or even 3 times a week, and it's just 15 minutes where you're planning for that time to have that. So it's routine, right? So then we get routinely into, okay, I'm not going to ping Rachel 8 times in a day because I know that I'm going to have that standing meeting with her. And that's when I'll discuss all the things that I have on my plate.
Okay.
I think it's really important too. I mean, one of the things that I talk about with senior leaders is you need to be meeting. Most people try and meet once a week. And if you're a high functioning team that has real clarity and stability in your business, that's not typically the people that I'm working with. They're high growth businesses. And so I tell people they have to meet twice a week, once on Monday, and it should be for an hour-ish. And then you should have a meeting on Thursdays. And I've told people before, Thursday is my favorite day to lead because it's our ability, because on Monday, we set out the objectives of what we need to go get done. And on Thursday, we get to reorganize those priorities based around what we want to get done before the end of the week, so that my people can go home the weekend and enjoy themselves. And so that, to me, that's why it's always been my favorite day to lead, because it's my ability to make an impact of what are we going to get done before Friday at 5, so that all my people can go home with a clear mind, and we reprioritize whatever else needs to go in for Monday. And so if that's not enough, then I would tell you, set up those standing meetings with your people on a regular basis at a cadence. It can be 10-minute huddles, as Amanda says, that happen every day just to check in with people and make sure that we're aligned on objectives.
Also, there's, and I love, Anthony is saying Peak Mind by Amisha Jha is a great book to understand focus and how your mind works within our new framework of fast-paced life. Fascinating. It could also be starting to recognize what are the things that I'm calling my hand up and saying, why do I need their assistance? Maybe there's something that needs to build a procedure or a policy around that particular thing. So there's workshops that you can do, right? To say, okay, this is a problem that keeps showing up over and over and over again. Let's do a workshop to create a system to reply back to that so that we don't have to keep having that problem.
The reason that you need to grab those meetings, unless it's truly a one-off, Yannicka, is we have a lack of clarity around what you should be doing. That's why you have questions. And so the clearer we are, the faster we can go. And so it's really the idea in everything that you do when you're a leader is fix the issue, solve the problem, which means, okay, I'm responding to Yannicka's one-off need right now, but what am I fixing or solving over the long term to make sure that everyone has clarity about how we approach that as a business going forward?
Fascinating. Wow, we went really long on number 1. Can I go into 2 and 3 too?
Let's do it.
Okay, so number 2 is messaging, right? We're expected to put out all of this content and information to keep what is the number one goal of marketing, to create top of mind awareness. That is why we're posting on social. That is why we're sending out emails. That's why we have a podcast, to create top of mind awareness so that as soon as they need you, you are the first person that they think of. So now we put out all of this content. Is it even in alignment with who we're speaking to? Is it talking about what keeps them up at night? Is it talking to their pains that can be solved? Is it talking to their solutions? So this is where my father's methodology comes in with the stadium pitch and how to educate your prospects. Let's stop selling and really start educating, because as they get for B2B clients, let's say, the average B2B prospect looks at 5 different pieces of content online before they raise their hand and say, hey, I want to talk to a salesperson. People are buying houses. And I have a client that sells high-end cars. They sell $300,000 cars, sight unseen. People will just go on the internet and say, yes, I want to purchase that car. Blows my mind, right? We're living in this world where content is king, and it needs to be online, but it needs to be very clear in a way that is strategic. And that's where we come up with the core story methodology, where if you have that clear and concise story that can be replicated everywhere and everyone is singing that same story, then you have harmony that takes 9 times the impact, rather than just one person saying this, another person saying that. And it's different from LinkedIn to a trade show booth to your Facebook ads. It's just a mess. So how would anybody find you when you have that clarity and it's sprung amongst all 15 marketing mediums and all of your salespeople and you can take off in an unparalleled way than we've never had before. But you have to have that clarity of messaging.
And we've talked about this before. Complexity is the enemy of scale. And so if you're making it hard for your consumers to understand who you are, what you're all about, what your value prop is, and why they should choose you, then you're going to have difficulty in getting their attention to convert them from a looker to a customer.
And I love that Bill was saying his name and then saying, sadly, no relation to Amanda. It's funny.
Bill, you're still pretty cool though.
Absolutely.
So stadium pitch.
So yes. So number 1 is time. Number 2 is how you message. And then number 3 is who are you messaging to, right? Because we have the ability to just spray and pray at this point. There are so many people out there. And the only problem with that is then when we market to everyone, we market to no one. So who are we focused on? How are we clear on our objectives to be able to get to where we're looking to get to? So my father created this concept called the Dream 100, and he invented it with Charlie Munger. And he realized when he got a list of 2,000 different advertisers, only 167 of them purchased 95% of the business, which for any business owner listening right now, if you go back and pull up all of your clients, let's say over the last year, and then categorize them by how much money they've spent with you, you'll notice a trend. And very often we find that 20% of your clients are producing 80% of your revenue. Very often, we're even seeing it more like 5% is generating 95%, because we're not doing a good enough job of analyzing everyone that we have in our pipeline or who we're working with to determine who are our best clients. And best clients isn't always bigger. Bigger is important. Profitability is important. Ease of delivery. Do they love what you do? Are they resonating? Something that I've been learning so much about from you, Jerry, is values. Do you align with these people that you're working with? And I've been so happy I think that has really inspired me in what I'm creating for the Dream 100 moving on. What will it be for the next 10 years? As really around that idea that you get to decide who you're going to work with and how you want to work with them. So why don't we craft our messaging and actually target people that are in alignment, because you can find them online today. You can go onto a Facebook group and find people that love books that talk about pirate zombies. I heard about this the other day. There's series of books that people love, zombie pirate novels. you can find anything, right? It's so bizarre.
Thank God, Amanda. I've been wondering about that. I'm going on right now.
Thank goodness. Well, I think to that point, the riches are in the niches. And one of the things that I find is people are so afraid to put a stake in the ground and say, here's who I am, here's what my company is all about, here's what we do better than anyone else in the world, and to give up that part of the business because those people aren't buyers of mine. When you don't have alignment and there isn't value creation, all you're doing is wasting your time. You might as well go find your people who get what it is that you're doing. Or, the other piece of that is educate them on why they should be interested in your product or service. Otherwise, there's only 3% of people who are looking for what you do right now. And so think about 97% of your effort is wasted every single time unless you are educating, resetting the buying criteria, and tipping the field in your favor. It's a simple concept, but making sure that you understand exactly who you are, what you stand for, is super critical. And, I know you love data. The Edelman Trust Report came out, and 61% of people are now searching for meaning in their work. What is the purpose of doing? I'm going from being transactional to being transformational. And I think that's why we see 4 million people every month since last July have resigned from their job. I mean, the highest before that was 3.5 million, and that was July 2019 as the economy heated up. And so every month for July all the way through February, people are saying, this is not for me. I'm not just trading my time for a paycheck. I need to know that what I do matters. And I think more than ever, companies that can put their stake in the ground and say, here's who we are and here's why you should choose us, they're going to win big time, not only with their customers, but with their employees.
Oh my gosh, there's so much I want to say about that, but let me give you a quick thing, and then we should open up for people that want to talk and ask questions, and let's dialogue on this. But one quick thing. So I truly believe in the power of the subconscious mind, right? So if 3% of our mind is mostly our conscious mind, and then the rest of it is all of these things happening in the background of what they're thinking and what happened, and when we sleep, our mind is perpetually working and thinking about things. Before you go to bed, what if you just did an experiment of, for the next week, you said before you went to bed, you turned off your phone for at least 10 minutes before you go to bed, and just have that space and that clarity. And then look inward and ask, what is the most important thing that I need to be doing that utilizes my best skills? Who do I need? Who needs me right now? Who needs what I have to give? And who are the best people that could utilize my assistance? And kind of just like telling your subconscious to work on this while you sleep. So over the next 7 hours, 8 hours, please mind, just talk, having that inner dialogue and giving the mind that amount of time to start programming and thinking about what makes me truly happy, who makes me truly happy, what energizes me. That resetting, I think, is so crucial. And I could go really far into that, but I won't, because I'd rather hear from everybody what's going on in their world and stuff. But
let's do it. It is interesting. I believe in this. I had the leadership gap earlier today, and Jared Seidenberg's part of it. We talked about taking our values and creating intention statements out of it. And all you're doing is reprogramming your brain to say, here's how I see the world, and here's the impact that I want to go make. And you let your subconscious do all the work behind the scenes. So the first thing that I do is I will add an insane amount of joy to the world today. And my mind is always scanning for opportunities to add joy to the world. So that's just a little hack that happens, but use that to your benefit. Amanda's exactly right. Awesome stuff.
I love that. Okay, one more, and then questions, or you want to bring something up that you're challenged with, and we'll work through it, because Jerry's freaking brilliant. I'm so lucky we get to have this dialogue. So I was just working on the Dream 100 boot camp. I have this boot camp that I'm running and teaching people live, because it's one thing to watch it in a course, but it's another thing to have a whole community of people doing it all at once. And one of the crucial parts that I feel like my father never really explicitly said, it's kind of all across the board, but it's never so clear of what is your true goal? Where do you want to find yourself? And then how do we backtrack and look for those beautiful people that can assist you to get to that goal so much faster? And then opening up the opportunity, once we're very clear on what that goal is, to invite those that will assist you with that goal to get there faster. So for instance, I'm working on this University of Self-Realization. I have been looking for a couple hundred acres in the middle of nowhere to create a place where we can expand our minds and use a higher form of intelligence. We can find our true purpose and passion. And it takes just going inward and finding that, but we need a safe and beautiful, quiet space, serene place to have that happen. So that is my big goal. Now, how do I find people to assist me with that goal is parts and pieces of my Dream 100. But when you're clear on that goal, then it makes it so much easier to get there. So yes, any ultimate sales machine questions, any Dream 100 questions, any core story questions, any time management questions, this is just what's coming up for me right now. I'd love some advice.
I can imagine
Michael.
with this many people, there's not one question for you.
Oh, Yannicka will definitely have something, I'm sure of it. So that's number one. But so Amanda, you talk about let your subconscious do the work. One of the things that my group and Malia, Carol Ann, Leanne, Caitlin, we usually talk about topics and we talk about them, and we always kind of leave the conversation before the topic is complete to think through, let it have a day of rest, and let's think about the things that maybe we haven't thought about in this conversation. And it's usually 3 or 4 or 5 minds working together to solve an issue or to think bigger picture. And one of the things that I've really found with that is that, we start with one core issue, and then, we walk away solving several problems, but it's over a time frame. It's not within that first conversation, the initial conversation. And Leanne and Carol Ann, Caitlin can attest to this. Like, this is a common theme for us in our group, our leadership group, because it has proved to be really efficient for us. So I don't know if there's any other groups that work like that, but and I always say to them, I don't need the answer today. I don't want the answer today. I want us to think through it, sleep on it, talk about it tomorrow. And usually we come up, by day 3 or 4, it's like, wow, this has really evolved. And so I don't know who else is using that in their organization, but it's definitely something that has proved positive for our group.
I love that. So that also ties with, so I study under an Indian saint, and she teaches, we have this I don't know box. And if you ever say, I don't know, you're charged $5. Because when you say, I don't know, you turn off your subconscious mind from finding the answer. I don't know, it's a shut door, as opposed to, I'd like to know, or I'd be curious to find, I'm looking for the solution, right? So we keep that ability to look for it. So omit your I don't knows, or put a I don't know box in your home. It's pretty funny.
It is interesting because, Yannicka spoke about this and I spoke about it last week. One of the traps that high achievers have is we feel like we constantly have to fill our calendar from top to bottom. So when I work with high achievers and I'm looking at their calendar, there's zero space for them to do the white space type of thinking to say, am I not just working on the next thing? Am I working on the right next thing that aligns up to the goals and the objectives that I have? And when you get really ruthless on that, you accelerate what it is and what you get done better and faster. But it is counterintuitive to tell people, slow down. You don't have to rush in to get the answer, or to actually build in time to just say, I'm going to think about my business. And I'm not exactly sure what that looks like today, but I'm going to build in 30 minutes into my calendar on a daily basis to analyze a report or to think about how I can reach my customers, because now I know they have 3 seconds of attention span. When I ran my internet company back in 2005, The rule of thumb was you had 6 seconds to capture people's attention or they were off your page. And so, at that point in time, you needed to have fast load times too. We just keep on getting bombarded with more and more mediums and more messages. And so we have to create that space for ourselves to think. If you don't, you're missing the mark and a great opportunity to make an impact.
Let me ask you a question of the group. If you could walk away with a really great gem today, what would it be? Right in the chat. What would mean something really valuable to you if you could walk away with something today?
Someone was about to come off when you started there. I don't know who it was though.
I was just gonna say, I think that, like Jerry, like you were saying, like a trap that we fall into as well is coming up with a quick answer and not thinking about it. That's how we get stuck in our old ways. That's how it's always been done. That's something, Amanda, you talked about when we saw you last, but just thinking outside of the box just helps you improve your process time and time again.
Absolutely.
Amanda, does the answer that's, excuse me, if I'm asked a question and I don't use the term that don't know, I usually respond, and that's a great question. I'll get back to you by 3 p.m. today or by close of business day. So I'm not using the term I don't know, but I am using the word that's a great question.
That's great. I love it. And you're adding accountability of, I will respond back at this time, right?
Right. Yeah, I think a lot of people on this call use that same technique anyway. Yes.
Oh, fascinating. Yeah, I have another client that says we are going to grow by 50% by 2022, December 28th at 5 p.m. I was like, wow, that's impressive. Putting down the goal with the time was interesting. What else? What would be like an actual meaningful takeaway today? Like, is there anything that's happening in your world that you'd love a solution to right now? I mean, there's just so many of you. Let's just, why not say hello and find out? I mean, I can banter all day, but.
I think one thing would be nice. We're dealing with, everyone's customers busy, is that getting their attention off either like a subject in an email or, the first sentence kind of, because, you say we have 3 seconds. So what would be a quality or a way for us to gather that person's attention who's ciphering through 100, 200 emails a day? So I think
yeah, great question. Who's your prospect, may I ask?
It would be pharmacy buyers.
Oh, okay.
Indirect
part of the world.
Pharmacy.
Oh, here we go. Okay. So there's many different approaches that we can do, right? I'm in my Dream 100 mode because, I have this boot camp going on right now. So if we thought about that, do you also reach out to them on social?
And working more with LinkedIn, getting them more LinkedIn. That is.
Okay. So what an interesting concept of as the first step, why don't we just listen first? Why don't we go on their LinkedIn and see what have they liked? What have they commented on? What's in their bio? What's of interest to them? What associations are they a part of? And then, oh, that's interesting. How can I find some way that I'm similar to this person? So it could be, oh, you're from this town. I visited there once and it was really lovely. Or, oh, we went to the same college. Or, oh, I've heard about that association. Do you like it? Is it really nice? If you're not going out to so many, right? There's so many bots out there in the world. Why don't we talk about what's of interest to them? Which is first, you want to gain trust. So they know you, they like you, they respect you. So they have to know you. So you have to gain their attention. So where in their world are you similar? And because of social today, man, you can find out so much information about people. I mean, as those decision makers get younger and younger, right? They are sharing about things they probably don't even talk about with their own family members, but they'll put it out on Facebook, right? So doing that due diligence of understanding what's happening in their world. And then even before, can you preheat that conversation by just showing up and whatever is happening in their world now, commenting on it and giving helpful insight when you are commenting, right? So I can think of, I have a client right now that runs a 9-figure business and he has 100 staff. And if I were to cold call him or email him, I wouldn't get him. He's my client and I can't even email him. He doesn't answer my emails, but I always communicate with him on Instagram Messenger. Go figure, but that's where he spends his time. So that's also crucial. Where do they spend their time? So I'm communicating with him on Instagram Messenger and I'm looking for every opportunity and I'm analyzing very closely, right? Where's a place where we have similarity? Where's a place where I can say something that's clever? Where's a place where I can say something that adds value to his world? If I see that he's in need of something, I try to find every way to source some kind of result for him. If I see that he's having frustrations with something, I lend a helpful hand, right? There's so many more opportunities than ever before to create that dialogue. We just think that it has to be in this box of, I'm asking for a sale. Did that help at all?
It does. Thank you. Thank you.
I think Amanda's right. When you can shorten that know, like, and trust, that arc, every relationship goes through know, like, and trust. Whether you're hiring, whether you're trying to sell something, you have to go through the know, like, and trust. And so in today's environment, there's so many opportunities for you to find the like and know piece. Like, oh, I've seen Zach. He's been in my feed before. He's posting interesting things. Does it take a little bit of effort? Sure, it absolutely does. But what's your alternative? Sending an email like 200 other people? Sure, you can have a clever subject line, but if they don't know who you are, they're probably not going to open it. And you do enough spoofing of subject lines, they keep on going like, that guy, push him out of the feed. And so the greatest thing you can do is create value for people. If you're helping solve their problems differently, whether it's personally or professionally, you are going to get their ear. One of the things that I think is so interesting, because I do use email tracking, the number of emails that I sent a year ago versus what I send today, it's almost comical how few emails I send. Do you know why? Because almost everything has transitioned over to text message, right? 5% of people are now answering their phone, and 98% of people will answer a text message within 2 minutes. And so if you can get to a place where you have a relationship with your buyers, where you have their personal cell phone number, you change the dynamic of how you can reach them and cut through the clutter. Now, obviously, you have to be really responsible with sending a text message. But, if you're doing something of value, then people invite it. It's amazing.
Another thing that you could consider with email is bomb. And I know, have you ever heard of bomb? So you can record quick 1 to 2 minute videos that are personalized, where you're talking to the person. And in the subject line, I recorded a video for you, blank name, right? They click on it and then there you are. Oh, hey, Susie, I was just noticing. And then, so you've got in because you've sent them a video, and they feel like, when I get these, I go, well, this person recorded a video for me. I should probably watch it. And it's very obvious that, you could even hold up. So the paused picture is you with their name, hi, and put their name, right? So you're pointing at it. So they're like, okay, this is really for me. I should read this because it's obvious that this person is taking the time to record a video and put my name on it, right? So then they click on it. Then you have to actually say something that's of value to them. So then we get more into like core story messaging of, what can you do to make them feel that they're heard and understood? What are you talking about that's of value to them? And what can you add that is value of them that they would want to actually hear more from what you're saying?
Another piece that I've used in the past is I'm a voracious reader. So I'm constantly reading things. And if I know you really well, Zach, and you're a Philadelphia Eagles football fan, and I see a breaking news story, I'm grabbing that story and I'm sending it to you. And it's like, oh, all right, now I've changed the dynamic of our relationship, because that I heard you, the things that you were interested in, and you changed the dynamic of that relationship from just being a business relationship to, hey, when the next breaking Eagles thing comes out, they're probably sending it back to you. And so once you start doing that, I challenge my CEOs, can you become indispensable to your clients? When they have a problem and they have a pharmacy question, are they calling you or are they calling someone else? And you win if they're calling you. And that takes some work, but that's the aim that I have. I say in my business, if my CEOs are calling me because they're stumped on a Sunday afternoon, I know I've become indispensable to my CEO because I'm the person they're calling on Sunday afternoon with a question.
And there's some good comments happening in the chat too. So to build on that, I'm working on how to manage the little fires that pop up during the day that throw off my intended plan. So if we got into like more workshopping, right? So a great practice to do is, what is the biggest thing holding our company back from efficiency, from growth, and putting that question as something that the entire group should discuss. So what is the biggest thing holding us back? It could end up being something that is happening as a fire all the time. Then what we do as a group is, okay, everyone, you have 2 minutes, write down all of the different problems that you think is holding back the company. Let's all write them down. You have 2 minutes. So everyone writes down what their problems are. Then everyone shares. So everyone gets the floor and it's all an equal thing, right? It's not just one person, whoever's loudest or most compelling gets the limelight. So everyone gets to share. Then we put them up so that everybody can look at them and we go, okay, if you had to vote for the number one thing that is holding back the company, what is it? And then everyone gets to vote, and whoever votes the most, then that is the thing that we then workshop to figure out what is the solution we need to solve that problem. What could be some solutions? And then the final thing is, what accountability can we hold each person to achieve the steps that we've laid out to solve that problem? This is a process that gets everyone together. So then we create systems and procedures around how to solve issues that may be coming up as fires all the time. And it's not just the head of a division or the CEO saying, this is what it should be, this is the solution. When you bring everybody together and we solve it together, then everyone feels responsible for the solution because we were part of creating it together. And when multiple minds get together, right, it's something, a new brain is formed, right, where we come up with solutions that we wouldn't have if we were by ourselves. So that workshopping technique could be a great other way for you to find out what the fires are and how to solve them.
It's really interesting too, because I've been lucky enough to be a senior leader in every company that I've been a part of. The people who know the business best and where the fires are at the front lines, it's not me, right? And so that's a great example of, let's bring the people into the conversation that are really fighting the fires on the front lines and listen to them to fix the issue, then solve the problem. And you do that again and again and again, and you just create additional, a momentum going forward. It's incredible.
I just have to say that I've learned so much from Jerry in this last year. And I'm so grateful for him. Honestly, when I hear him talk, I just felt I should probably profess this amongst everybody, that I just love him. And I think he's so brilliant in just a caring way. You can just tell everyone that interacts with him, right? I'm sure you all can agree that everyone that interacts with him is just, he's coming from a wonderful place. He's just trying to make things better. And because of that, everyone gets on the same page, and the efficiency and the effectiveness is at such a rapid pace. So I just had to say thank you, Jerry, for being such a wonderful influence in my life.
Thank you. You know how much I love you. It's all we're trying to do is, it's this thing over here, right? Let's positively impact 5 million people over the next 5 years through better business. And it's all I want to do. It's all I'm driven by. It's why we do this, because again, people want to be great. Let's give them the tools and resources that they need to be great, because if you are solid at work, you're going to be solid at home. And if you're solid at home, you have the opportunity to be solid at work. But like I always say, no one wants to suck at work, and there's so many people that do. And so as senior leaders, we have to make sure that we're giving people the tools and resources that they need to succeed, the clarity, the challenge, and the comfort that they know that they feel cared about. And that to me is the place where I think business leaders can do much better is give a shit about your people, right? It's not just turning a profit and turning a buck. Sure, you want to do that. I'm a capitalist through and through, but it is way more fun to do it with people that you love to go into work with every day, that you've taken the time to get to know them and their families. And that to me is the challenge. You can do both. You can do good and you can do good business. And so that becomes the fun part.
That was the best.
I'll quote Steve Shirley and say that, you know, if you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. He's the president of our company. And you know what, honestly, there is not a truer statement. I know when I was with McKesson, I love McKesson, but it was work. And it was work because it was the people, the processes, the inefficiencies, all of those things. And when you get to a place that you love, oh, it's incredible. Like I'm hoping this is where I'm retiring. So don't be getting any ideas, Carol Ann.
Not anytime soon, though. Not retiring anytime soon.
And you're with all your great people, which is even better. There's nothing like it.
I love it.
Completely agree. Rachel, I'm retiring with you. So whatever.
Okay, good.
Whatever that is. So
I am slightly older than you, so I will retire about 6-ish months before.
6 months.
Sounds like you guys are retiring together. I'm not sure where that leaves me. So I guess I'll have the kids. You know, I think to Rachel's point, you know, looking across the crowd, you know, Zach Mitchell's on the call, who, you know, we helped build a fast growing company together. Those are the relationships that you have, and it's amazing, right? And here he is showing up with his own time, probably picking his kids up, and amen. So when you do that, you have those relationships for life, because the care is just together and you align on those values and you just do amazing, great work together. And so that to me is the fun part. Amanda, tell us a little bit about, because you are launching the Dream 100. And so I know we're in the middle of doing that, but tell us just a little bit, what's that look like for you? Because I think it's
Michael's
fun.
gonna come. Michael's gonna be there.
Love it.
Yeah. So when I first learned about the Dream 100 concept from my father, right, I kind of thought it was about the biggest and the best. My father worked with 60 of the Fortune 500. So let me see how many Fortune 500 I can bring in the door. And so I started bringing in Fortune 500 clients, and, you know, I thought it was impressive and people were surprised. But then I started noticing that there was something missing with those clients. And then I went after the biggest in my industry. I went after those that had millions of followers. And I thought, yeah, this is my dream client. And then I started noticing that just because they had 1 million followers didn't mean that they had quality people, the quality leads. It's not just about quantity, it's about quality. And they weren't really my ideal buyers. So then I started really digging around, and I've been looking lately at the kind of clients that I get to work with today. And I've noticed that I was taking screenshots of them recently, and I'm very in love with taking care of you and my father passed at 55. So it was a very early, abrupt passing. And so that brings with me, how can I assist more businesses to be able to grow without having such a stressful time? So that's inherently altruistically within me. So how do I attract more people that maybe believe in a greater purpose, or they have a mission to what they're doing? And so I have a client right now that Jerry is also a part of. So it's a $56 billion health insurance fund. The gentleman believes that we have sick care. We don't have wellness plans. We have sick plans. And he wants to change the way that healthcare is distributed in America. And I thought, wow, I am all about that. I think that that's wonderful. And I have another client that does senior living facilities, and it's something like 75% of the elderly feel that they are left behind and they're alone. And the amount of health problems that we have when we're alone is quite crazy. It adds up to basically early death because you're so lonely. But in his communities, 1 in every 9 seniors feel lonely. So to go from 75 down to such a fraction, he's really trying to change the way that we take care of our elderly, which should be. And having been a caregiver for my father, that's really important to me. So I look around at these clients that I have today, and they're in alignment with my core values. They're in alignment with where I'm taking my life and what my pursuits are for the bigger picture. They're in alignment with, they, generate great revenue and profitability. There's so much more than just bigger is better, because bigger isn't always better. So I've redefined what the Dream 100 can be for you, and it depends on each person, right? It should be crafted towards, where is your goal? With that in mind, now let's figure out where your Dream 100 is, which is getting to the most potentially feeling like the most impossible people that could completely change and alter your whole world. And we've had some great successes with that. I just had another gentleman out of our last boot camp. With 4 clients, he generated $12 million in 2 weeks. Absurd, right? We had another client.
Hold on. Say that again. He generated how much and how much?
He generated $12 million in 2 weeks with 4 clients. And these were all people that were not interested in his product, because he used his core story messaging and targeted his Dream 100 potentials. I mean, I have a client that got 1 new client and it generated them $30 million that year, just 1. So it's not this like crazy, how do I go after 1 million people? It's just being very clear about getting in alignment with yourself, with your goal, and then who are the people that you need to rally to make that goal a possibility much faster. So I crafted this boot camp where we follow this methodology of learn it, build it, use it. So as you learn it, then you're building it while we're on the calls, and then you go and deploy it. And then we hold everyone accountable. So we're making sure that we're reaching out to those bigger, better buyers, those that are more in alignment, those that we might be fearful of or that we know of, but we just haven't done it yet because we don't have a solid plan. So that's what I've crafted, is the Dream 100 Bootcamp. And we just got a sponsor yesterday that took $1,000 off of that. So now, I know, Yannicka, I know. So now it's only $9.99.
That's insane. I mean, I think that's a testament to, your father's company and the company that you are building, that someone felt so passionate about the work that you're doing that everyone should have access to it, and literally said, I'm paying for $1,000 for everyone. No one should not go through this. I mean,
and they added $1,000 vacation to it too. So now every person that signs up for the Dream 100 Bootcamp also gets $1,000 vacation voucher. So that's like hotel. So depending on where you go in the world, it could be between 3 days or 7 days, depending. And you get a hotel room for 2 with your bootcamp sign up. So
let's just say that differently. How passionate are your clients about what you do and your relationship with them? Would they come forward and say, this is so impactful and I've had so much success doing this, I've made so much money, I'm going to sponsor people to go through this experience? That to me is insane. I mean, that is next level brand building and relationship driven. It's insane. I think I even saw Amanda cry yesterday. I'm not sure.
I did. It just really meant a lot, right? That somebody would care that much. And then also to say, I don't need to be acknowledged because it's not about me, it's about them. So if you want to be a part of our group, it starts in 11 days, thedream100.com.
Anyone have any more questions for Amanda?
I got one quick one.
Yeah.
Hey, Amanda, how's it going?
Hey, Kevin.
Hey, I'm really excited to read your new book, or your revamped book. I know Chet was amazing author, bestseller, all of that. I wrote a book. I'm in the middle of my second, and I'm curious, how do you use the book to promote your business? Actually, before that, self-publish, publisher, and then
self-publish. Oh my gosh.
All right, talk to me.
I wish I had self-published it, because the problem is, if your book is meant to generate you leads, your publisher is now in between you and knowing who's purchased. So I can't get the list of all the people that have purchased my book. It's absolutely insanity. And it takes them between 6 and 9 months. That manuscript is done. And yet I won't be able to come out with it until August. They're in, if the publishing world were dinosaurs, these would predate dinosaurs. So yeah, I would definitely say self-publish.
Do you
And then
hire like a marketing team or someone to promote it for you, or you just throw it on Amazon and call it a day?
Well, it depends. Did you write a really great book, or did you just write one to say I'm an
I
author?
mean, it's a fantastic book. So my first one, candidly, the first one was to build credibility. So I just wanted to say I was an author, but now it's going to be much more self-serving, promoting the business.
Awesome.
But to market that book is expensive, and I'm not sure if it's worth that.
Well, I would start with a free chapter. You should always have a free chapter. So if anybody wants to read Ultimate Sales Machine, you can get the free chapter at chetholmes.com/CH4. And my advice on that free chapter would be give the best chapter for free. Give your best for free, which is really counterintuitive. You'd feel like, no, I need to save my best, but don't. Same with social media. If you're putting out stuff and you feel like you need to keep your best stuff, don't do it, because nobody will hear from you. You need to give your best stuff out there. That's my father talking to. Give your best for free. So best chapter, give for free. That at least gets people to start reading it, and then maybe they'll purchase. But that's also a great way to get them in the door. I would utilize it in ads. I mean, it just depends on who you're reaching out to and what the goal is with it. But if you're using it to gain that trust and that brand awareness, right? We're one of the top 10 most recommended sales books of all time at this point. And a great book on average is passed around 8 different times. So it's a great word of mouth strategy.
I think, Kevin, if you went through the calculation, because it is expensive to market a book. I know Amanda's interviewing firms right now to help with the book launch. And so it is serious. But if you can make the calculation of how many books do I think I can sell, there's some ROI there, but does it help drive brand, shorten the know, like, and trust curve so that you get additional opportunities? What does that look like? Because you do have a back end to what you're selling. That's really, it's lead generation and lead funnel for you. And so that's the piece that, yeah, it's expensive, but what are the other things that you're doing in your business that you could reallocate those marketing dollars out of one channel that may be mediocre into this opportunity if you really think you have something that's worthwhile?
Yeah, for sure. And this is speaking engagements, right? You get invited to more of that, and that helps
Yeah.
promote and everything.
I have to be on another call right now, but very, very quickly, when I launched, the last thing that I launched, I got 30,000 new businesses into my world in 1 month, and it didn't cost me a dime. And I just used the Dream 100. I got all of my best affiliates to promote at the same time. And I said, hey, for every lead that you bring me to my event promoting my launch, I'll give you 2 leads back. So it didn't cost me anything, but everybody promoted for it. And I got 30,000 new leads. So are there anybody in your sphere of influence that you can say, hey, if you promote this, I'll promote you, and let's all get together, and then you promote the book? That would be my last little give you.
Got it. Amanda, thank you so much for coming and visiting with us. It was awesome. And if you want to connect with Amanda, do it on LinkedIn. She's there. Instagram, you can find her. Facebook, you can find her. More great wisdom and stuff. You can go. I know you have another call. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Before we leave, next week we have a really cool guy too. If you're interested in growing your brand and making your voice heard, Alex Sanfilippo is the founder of Podmatch. The best way I can describe it is it's like Tinder for podcast hosts and guests. And so if you're interested in building your brand, this guy, he's built 2 podcasts himself. That's Building a Brand was one of them that have made it to the top charts. And so he is a marketing guru, and he's a super great, humble guy. I would tell you, please come and visit with Alex Sanfilippo next week. So next Thursday, 3:30. I hope you guys have a great week. Thanks for stopping by.